Just recently was my 10-year anniversary of this business, and I've been practicing chiropractic for a little over 14 years now, and coming up on my 15th anniversary. And really, what I wanted to dive in today is what are the big things that I have learned? Not the things that were taught to me in school, not the things that I expected, not the things that surprised me, the things that I've really learned about health and what you can use to move you forward. And the first one I want to dive into is a lot of people will tell you that at a certain age everything starts to fall apart, right? And for some people that's 30, some people they say 35 or 40 or 45, 50, whatever it may be. Everybody gives you a different number. And in my experience, as I've gotten older, have there been some things that I've lost? Absolutely. The reason that I've lost them though surprised me. As I got evaluated, I'm like, why is this not as easy as it once was? It's because I stopped focusing on it. I started getting a little out of shape. I didn't lift weights as much. And with that, I would go and I would do something. I'm like, man, I'm a little sore after. Why is that? I've never had that. It's because I stopped focusing on it. I wasn't putting effort in that area of my life. And I don't know if everybody else is the same way on that, but this is something that I noticed that surprised me. When I started putting focus back on that area, I didn't see the problem anymore. So, instead of looking at, hey, I've lost that, look at what can you do to regain that ability, regain that focus, regain that level of health that you had in the past. What were you doing then compared to what you're doing now? And if there's a difference, start changing it. Start focusing on that. And is that difficult? Not really. It takes time, but it's not really that difficult in and of itself. So that is the first thing that I wanted to go over. Is I haven't really lost it, but I have stopped focusing on some things, and that has changed my outcomes. Second thing is it's very easy to get overwhelmed. There's a lot of health information out there, and you just type into Google whatever you want, and you'll get more information back than you can handle. There's millions of pages of different health information, right? If you try to go through all of that at once, you're not ever going to make it. You really have to have a system of some sort when you're combing through these things. You have to start looking at one aspect of it. So instead of looking at weight loss, look at exercises for weight loss, or look at dietary changes for weight loss, or whatever else. Look at improvements, what you can do to improve your sleep through deep breathing, or what you could do to improve your sleep through stress reduction, or improving your sleep through exercise. You've got to be a little bit more focused on how you sort through this stuff, because if you don't end up looking through it, you're going to end up having another one. Stress will chew you up. And this is one that I've learned from my own personal experience. And on a couple of different occasions, when I was right after college, really, I was trying to work a bunch of jobs, and I was getting about 4 hours of sleep a night. That's when I ended up with my autoimmunity. Now, I didn't look at it as stress at the time. I just looked at it as, hey, I'm not getting enough sleep. My body can't handle it. And I mean, that's stress, right? It's kind of the way it goes, but I wasn't smart enough to realize it at the time. The second time stress really ate me up was, right after our second one was born, my wife got really sick. We just lost our office manager at the office, so things were stressful at the office. They were stressful at home, trying to do way too much, and it just destroyed my sleep. And that time I did realize it was stress. And that one, stress had a much more profound impact. Instead of having the physical manifestations, I did still have physical manifestations. I was getting headaches every single day. I was exhausted. I was grumpy, irritable. But I also had issues with, I don't even know how to word this. Like, I knew that I was stressed out, and I knew that that was affecting my sleep, but I didn't know how bad my sleep was. Like, I didn't know what I didn't know. I was laying in bed for 8 hours every night. I knew that I was waking up a few times, but until I started actually measuring it, like I started wearing a Fitbit first. I've got a Garmin now. I like the Garmin much better, but I still track my sleep because I'm very protective of that area of my life, because stress will eat you up. And in most people, that stress shows up in similar ways, whether that's in addiction, or whether it's in, high blood pressure, or, poor eating habits, or alcohol use, or whatever it may be. There's a million different ways things show up, but they tend to show up in similar ways in the same people over time. So I'm very, very protective of my sleep, because I know that twice in my life it's destroyed my sleep. That's something, if I want to improve my health and keep moving my health forward, I've got to pay attention to it. Measuring the things that you want to focus on is a very, very powerful way to continue to make that change and continue to monitor so you don't slip away from that. Other thing I wanted to go over, step number 4 is chronic illnesses are not something you're stuck with. I was told at age 23, after I got that diagnosis of autoimmunity, that it's something that I have the rest of my life. There's nothing I could do with it. I just accept it and go on with my life. I just take a medication and I'd be fine. And I looked for answers. Throughout chiropractic school and all that, I looked for answers, and everything you read, you're stuck with it. When I moved down to Nebraska City, when we bought this business, I went to a seminar, and it was the first seminar outside of Nebraska that I went to. And one of the speakers, Dr. Rob DiMartino, still a great friend and mentor of mine, he said from the stage, he wasn't even talking to me. He's like, if you have autoimmunity and your immune system is attacking your thyroid, is it a problem with your thyroid or is it a problem with your immune system? That's a profound thought, right? Because I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, all right, my thyroid is the issue here. My thyroid was not the issue. My immune system was the issue. I was focusing on the wrong things. Once I started focusing on the correct thing, it's much easier to get out of that path. And within 6 months, gone. I haven't had any of the antibodies since then. Now, does that mean that everybody's able to get rid of it? Not necessarily. But you're not necessarily stuck with it either. And that's the thing, is you've got to look at the things in ways that you can actually move yourself forward. If you tell yourself to just accept something or just to deal with it, are you ever going to make a change that is going to rid yourself of that? No. You might as well look at it with hope and try to make the changes that are going to move you forward. That's something I didn't realize at that time. Number 5, the past few years have changed people. With COVID coming through, it really changed the way that people act. There's less focus on some things in life, there's more focus on others, but people are different. And I don't know if it's a good thing, I don't know if it's a bad thing, but people are different through that. And that's something most of us have never lived through anything that big. There are people that have lived through the Great Depression or different things, but nobody around has ever really lived through a pandemic. And nobody really knew what to expect. And it's a lot different than what I thought it would be. There were changes, people becoming much more politicized in their healthcare information. There were people, that were going about it and staying away from everybody, very, very fearful in their behaviors. There were other people who just didn't care. They were going to go out and live their lives and do whatever. And there's not necessarily one way that is better than the other or right or wrong, but it changed people. And that had a profound impact on people's health. You'd really see, people coming in with different issues, struggling with blood sugar regulation or struggling with sleep or, more autoimmunity, different things like that. So it's really changed not just people, the way that they act. Mental health has been a big one that has changed, and physical health as well. Number 6, just because you put in effort doesn't mean you're going to get out results. And I guess I should amend that. Just because you put out in effort doesn't mean you're going to get the result that you want. I see a lot of people that are very, very frustrated with the changes that they're making. They're like, okay, what changes do I need to make? And we'll make up a plan, and they'll start going down that path. And a couple months later, they're frustrated. They haven't seen the change that they wanted to see. Have they seen change? Yeah, but it's not as much as they wanted to see. What else can I do? Okay, we look and we add some other things. They start making progress in that direction, but it's not as much progress as they would like. They're not all of a sudden healthy. And that's the thing, is we have to temper our expectations to some extent. Should you expect to move forward? Should you expect to be stuck where you're at? Absolutely not. But you've got to temper your expectations of what you're looking for, because health comes down to putting in the right effort for a long enough period of time with the right frequency that you're going to make the change. If you're doing the right things, and if you're stacking enough of those right things together, then you're going to make the change that you want, but it may not come as quickly as you want. And that's frustrating. I've been there myself, but I can tell you that if you up the frequency of what you're doing, if you up the length of the time you're doing it, it's going to come. Those changes will happen. It's just a matter of time. So don't get frustrated with it. Know that you're not the only one that's struggling with that. Know that everybody else has the same issues, and it's frustrating for everybody, but know that if you do that, you're going to get to your goal. You're going to get there if you up the frequency. And there's there's business gurus out there that will tell you, they're like, okay, if you are putting in the effort and you're not seeing the results that you want, you just have to double your efforts. It's not anything that anybody wants to hear, but they've shown over time through study, they're like, okay, when you double your effort, this is the output you get. And it's amazing to see the transformation in those businesses that actually double their output. Health is the exact same way. It doesn't matter what type of health you're looking for. If you're looking for weight loss, or if you're looking for focus on your autoimmunity, or if you're looking for stress reduction, or if you're looking at pain, if you double your efforts, your outputs are going to change. It's that simple. Not something you want to hear, not something that's easy to fit into your schedule, but it's something that will change. Let's see, what number are we on here? Number 7. The mental side matters. And like I said, frustration is something that comes with it. And it's difficult to deal with frustration. Anytime you get frustrated, you want to quit because you're not seeing the results that you want. You're not getting that output. You're not getting that dopamine hit to that frontal lobe that actually tells you to keep going. And a lot of this we just have to push through. We have to just realize that the more diligent we are, the more directed we are, the more focused we are, the better the output's going to be. But the mental side does matter. You have to realize that it's possible. You have to realize that you're capable of it, and you have to realize that it's going to come if you put in that effort. If you don't have that side, that mental side, you're going to quit. So get the mental game right. Decide that it is something you want to do. Decide that it is something that you're willing to put whatever effort into, and decide that whatever happens, you're not going to get too frustrated to quit, and you're going to move forward with it. And when you do that, it's going to help you out. That's why I tell people to figure out why they want to make that change. Because when you have that why driving you, you constantly have that reminder of what made you make that choice in the first place. Because there's something bigger behind it, whether it's I want to play with my grandkids, or I don't want to be crippled when I'm 90 years old. I don't want to be in a wheelchair. There's so many different things that if you look at it and you figure out exactly why you are going to do it, it's going to make a difference for you. So get the mental game right before you start any other changes. Number 8, it's difficult to have healthy adults when you don't have healthy kids, right? There are 2 ways that we can make healthy adults. We can either take a healthy kid and raise them into a healthy adult, or we can take an unhealthy adult and make them healthy. Now, there are a couple of different things about this. The first part, obviously, we want to have healthy kids. Healthy kids are, they mean the world to me. Like, I would do anything to get my kids healthy, right? You are probably the same way. But there's a lot more in health than we realize. We see a lot of kids these days that are overweight. We see a lot that are, fighting against ADHD or autism or dyslexia or even more depression and anxiety. We see, there's just a host of things. Autoimmunity is doubling in this population. Scary. That's a chronic disease, something that it can be a lifetime if you don't do anything about it. And they're getting it as children. That's scary. What are we doing to change the health of our kids, though? Do we see school lunches being as healthy as they should be? No. Do we see as much exercise as they should get? In most cases, no. Do we see more and more video games, tablets, computers? Absolutely. So all of these things go together. They stack, and they're leading us down a path that is leading us toward a more unhealthy adult population. Why aren't we making more of the changes in our kids? We need to focus on our kids' health, and that's something. It hit me about 2 years ago, and really is something that I want to make a change on our kids' health. Not just my kids' health. Obviously, I want to help them improve their health, but on our population's kids' health. And if I can do that, then not only do we see healthy adults, but we see them pass their healthy epigenetic expression, those markers that drive genetic expression. So you can have, genes are like a light switch. They're either on or off. The epigenetic is what either turns it on or turns it off. So if we have those healthy genes expressed, they pass those healthy genes onto their children, those healthy epigenetic patterns onto their children. That leads to more people being healthy in the future. So not only do we affect this generation when we focus on our kids, we affect the next generation and the generation after that. And some studies show up to 13 generations will be affected by that. That's huge. I want to affect a lot of people. I can only see a limited number of people in my practice. So this allows me to see Massive amounts of people transform their health, all with working on kids, right? So win-win. Number 9, health is about balance and balance is health. I've talked over and over about this one because this is one that I've really realized in the last year. The times in my life that I've been unhealthy, it's because I have not been balanced in my approach, right? Or balanced in my physical output, or balanced in my brain output. So when we see an imbalance in the brain, we might see a learning disorder, or a mental health challenge, or we might see memory issues, or whatever else. We see some sort of functional change. One side dominates over the other, and it leads to an output, whether that's autoimmunity or dementia or balance issues or whatever it may be. Now, if we work on stimulating those weaker sides, we bring more balance into the system, and those symptoms get better for the most part. There are certain things that we just cannot improve, but for the most part, we see change. And when we see that change, it's in the positive direction. The body's the same way. When we get balance in this, front to back, left to right, top to bottom, we see less pain, more physical capabilities, and more enjoyment of life because people are able to go and do what they want to do without negative consequences. So health is about balance. Every single thing that we do in our life is going to take us out of balance. Whether you're focusing on work for a little while, you're focusing on your family, or you're focusing on your mental health, or you're actually trying to get something done. For example, when you go to move, you fire more of your left brain. The movement center's there. When you try to stop, you fire more of the right brain. Every single thing we do takes us a little bit out of balance. But when we have that ability to return to a balanced state, that's where health lies. If we cannot return to a balanced state, that's unhealthy, right? That's where illness lies. Last thing, nobody can want you to be healthy more than you want to be healthy. And this was one that I learned very, very early on. It was a very hard lesson for me because people would come in and they would want to be taken out of pain, but they didn't want to do anything for it. And I'm like, okay, this is what your issue is. This is what we need to do. And they're like, I'm not going to do that. And that baffled me. That floored me. I'm like, okay, so you want to be out of pain, but you're not going to do the thing that's going to lead you in that direction? Nobody else can want you to be healthy more than you want to be healthy. Nobody else can exercise for you. Nobody else can get your mental game straight. Nobody else can put in the effort. They can't do it. Are there things that you can use to mask that? Absolutely. You can use sleeping pills to sleep. Are they a big health change? A lot of studies say they don't give you a huge benefit. They will help you sleep, and that can minimize certain types of diseases and things like that, but it's not a replacement for natural sleep. People can't put in the work for you. You have to figure out if you really want something. And if you really want something, you have to put in the effort. And I know that I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm not saying that to call you out or anything like that. But when you want change, you have to make the effort. There's a mentor of mine who says that the student who puts the burden of learning onto the teacher is somebody who will never learn. And I think that's accurate. If you expect somebody else to do the work for you and you get the benefit, it doesn't work that way. And like I said, I don't say that to be mean. I don't say that to call you out. But that is the number one thing that I've learned in health is I can't want people to be healthy more than they want to be healthy. Because I'm willing to put in the work. But if they're not willing to do the things that need to be done, then it's not ever going to happen. We can't do the work for somebody else. Nobody else can do the work for you. So those are the 10 things that I have learned. I haven't lost it. I've just let my focus slip. It's easy to get overwhelmed. Chronic illnesses are something that you're not stuck with. Stress will chew you up. You've got to focus on getting rid of your stress because if you don't, it will have health impacts on you. The past few years have changed people mentally, physically, emotionally. There have been a lot of changes in how people respond in public or in their health or in any other way. Just because you put in effort doesn't mean that you're going to get the change that you want. It's an experiment. When you put in that effort, you're taking a chance that is going to move you in the right direction, and you learn from that, and you do something either different, you do more of it, or more frequent, or whatever it is. But you have to take that as an experiment, learn from it, and make changes. The mental side of health matters. If you don't have the mental game right, it's going to be a challenge for you. It's difficult to have adults that are healthy if you don't have healthy kids. Focusing on our children's health is something that should be a priority. It's a priority of mine. Health is about balance, and balance is health. If you have the ability to return to balance, you are going to be healthy. If you don't, health is going to be a struggle. And nobody else can put the work in for you. Nobody can want you to be healthy more than you want to be healthy. That is something that you have to decide. I want this. I'm willing to put in the effort and go after. So I hope that this is helpful. I actually had fun looking at this. I thought that this was an interesting thing, just looking back on our anniversary of what have I learned over this, and what can I do to use more of this in other people's health. So if you liked it, if it was helpful, please hit the like or subscribe button. If if you didn't like it, don't hit it. I mean, that's the thing. I'm using this to figure out exactly what kind of information you guys want more of, what is going to be helpful to you. So if you hit that like or subscribe button, it gives me feedback on what I'm doing to move you in the right direction. So the videos that get the likes and subscribes, you're going to see more of those. The ones that don't, you're going to see less of those. So I love you. I appreciate you. I hope that you have a great day, and I will talk to you in the next video.